Now that I've been able to share with you almost all of the vision that Father gave me in 1999, I am very aware of something he told me is that I would feel like I was just giving doom and gloom, and that is how I feel. And that is what I've seen with a lot of other people, because I'm just a regular Christian too, and I listen to a lot of people, pastors and prophets and teachers, and a lot of times they do just tell you, well, there's going to be a hurricane come, or there's going to be, all the different scary things that we're going to have famine, but they don't tell you what to do about it or how to live through it. So that's something that I know that I am to do, and I am about to start giving you some ideas right now. As soon as this is done, very soon, I'm going to start writing a book based kind of on what I call Frats, F-R-A-T-S. And I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But right now, I want to share with you about our mission. We're named Mission Field Tomorrow, with just a dot and no space, because that's how Mary Beth said it. So let me tell you about how Mission Field Tomorrow came to exist. And we've never, ever, ever asked for money. Let me tell you that in all the time, like you've just heard 4 or 5 hours of me explaining the vision that I saw, in all the time I got to know her and her experiences and what she lived through, I never heard her voice. I knew what she was thinking a lot of times, and I felt fear when she felt fear, but I never heard her voice. And one time, at the end of me listening to her and being a part of her, the oddest thing happened. She looked up at me. I don't know how that happened. She looked up and looked me directly in the eye. And I don't know, does that mean that she was time traveling? I don't know what that means, but I can tell you it happened. That she looked me in the eye and said, if you all Christians had tried to think of us and our needs instead of all just trying to save each other, you would have made some difference. We would have listened to you, because we would all be Christians now if you had thought of us. And your mission, because I had promised to be a missionary when I was just young, 15 years old. My mission, she said, this is what Mary Beth said to me, the only time I ever heard her voice, your mission field was not Africa. Your mission field was tomorrow. It's us. You were supposed to be helping us. And I've had lots of knowings in my whole life, many, 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 probably hundreds of knowings in my life. But they never had a name. And as soon as I was done with writing out this vision and knowing what I was to do, it came up with a name. I was to call it Diary, and again that colon that Mary Beth had put in the name, Diary, My Life in the Time of the Antichrist. So now I had a vision with a name, and I knew what I was supposed to do, and I knew that my mission, my mandate from Father was to warn you, just out of love. I don't get anything from this except that I know I'm obeying. It's a great feeling to be able to obey Father. So that's why I called it Mission Field, Tomorrow, as she said it. And I even had to have the papers sent back to the Secretary of State because they put a space there. And I wanted to do it exactly as she showed me. And I wanted to call it exactly what she said. And I have. So when we made, Teresa, you hear about a lot, my daughter was with me from the very beginning and was the first person I confided any of this to. And she went with me because we wanted to know how we could help the people of tomorrow. We didn't know whether there would be a rapture or a catching away. We didn't know the future. But we knew that there were going to be people in the future who hadn't yet been saved, that if they went to the hospital, they would have to take the mark, and that means they could never go to heaven. And that bothered us. It bothered us a lot, and we wanted to do something about it. We didn't want anybody to ever end up losing their salvation because of illness or a child that was hungry. So we went to one of the best attorneys in Atlanta, Mr. Judge Maddox, and who was a Christian, and he advised us on some of the things that we could do. And so everything we've done from that time, which was the fall of 1999, I personally have paid for. The attorney and setting up a not-for-profit corporation in 2 states, because it was Atlanta first and then it was Nashville. Everything we've done to help others, giving money, giving food, being very active to help anything we can, and we did it in the name of Father Yahweh and for Mission Field Tomorrow. Everything has been funded by me personally or by what Teresa has helped. We never, never ask for money. When I started a blog, a Facebook group in January of this year, after a time when I started telling people, and that was called Truth Seekers, Bible Truth Seekers, and it still exists, and it still has 500 members who are active. When I started telling some of them about the vision, and they heard me on different radio shows, and they said, we want to help. And it was good because it was just at the time I didn't have any extra money to be able to buy the tent. I live in a normal size apartment. I couldn't put all the mess to be able to build this diorama and to set it up here. Only after everything was done and a lot of moving, we were able to put it all into one room. So people started saying, well, let me help. And one person sent some money to help buy the tent. We bought it for $175. It's still up. And that's where I did all the work. There were other expenses, and people have been lovely. But I want you to know that I've never asked for money, and I've never taken any of the money that's come in for myself. I still live on my own money and will continue to. So now I've told you what Mission Field is about, and that we are, now that we're in South America, as we were told, I was to put everything we did, which I thought it was going to be just this video, this documentary, but now things have happened that I know there's going to be at least 2 books and some other things, and I know that Father was clear. We are to translate all that into Spanish. He told me that the people here in South America have had Catholicism or pagan, and that they're going to have the choice of being Muslim, and that none of that is pure truth, and that he wants me to offer pure truth. And it won't be just me, it's going to be, I'm sure, a team that Father will bring. But I am to translate everything that we're going to make into Spanish, and that is likely not free. So that's why some people say, well, why do you charge money for this documentary? I don't charge for myself, but there are things I have to do. And I think if you have the kind of tender heart that I have, and that probably you have, you would like to be a part of this work. So if you do feel generous enough to share, the money will go to helping the people here who haven't had a fair shot at truth yet. And that's what they're about. And now you've heard from Teresa, my daughter, about what I'm about. You've seen the diorama, and now I'm going to talk to you about what I call Frats. Behind me, you will see F-R-A-T-S. And the way that came to be was, I have a friend here in Ecuador who was a top-level psychologist, and she still works with people all over the world, who, the one thing they have in common is that they have been abused in some way and suffered from satanic attacks. So Project Monarch and all kinds of horrible things. And she works with them for free. And she said, Rebecca, I totally know that everything you say is true. And I know that what your diorama is true. I know all that. But I need to know how to live. How can I tell these people and for myself? How can I live every day for what's coming and be able to cope and still praise Him and to be joyful as we're supposed to be? So I told her the first thing is faith. We think we either have faith or we don't, or maybe on a continuum, I have a faith of a 6 today or a 2, I don't have much faith today. What you need to know maybe is that faith is a decision. I decide today I am going to have faith. I don't have to worry about tomorrow, But today I'm going to believe that God is real, that Yeshua was real, that He loves me, that He did and He does love me, and that He's very involved. It's easy to give up your house and say, oh, this is just what Satan wants you to do, is to give up and say, oh, I feel so sorry for myself. Why me? Why me? I don't understand why me. And maybe what you don't know is that everybody says that, and that it's why them also, and the reason is because Satan wants you to believe that God does not love you, that Yahweh doesn't even know you, and if He did know you, He'd be disappointed. That's a lie. So first we have to talk about whether you have faith. If you have faith, even the grain of a mustard seed, if you have faith, you're going to believe that tomorrow is more real than today. That heaven, that new Zion, the new heaven, new earth, that the judgment, that everybody's going to get what they deserved someday. And you have to have faith in that. Those people who can believe that, who knew Jesus, Yeshua, get credit. But we who don't know Him personally, face to face, and on faith we believe that He will be there. On faith we believe in the angels and the miracles. So we need to talk a lot about what faith is and how you get it and how important it is, and the fact that it is in some ways visioning tomorrow, and we have to decide we're going to believe in tomorrow more than we believe in today. The second one is R for righteousness. When the time comes that we have to make spiritual commands, we have to fight with the unseen. And Father wants us to be more than conquerors. To be a conqueror is I do the battle and I win. But to be more than a conqueror is He does the battle and I get the glory, I win. So righteousness is one way that you can assure that you will have the confidence to be able to command the unseen, because just as there are angels, twice as many angels to be able to help you and deliver messages and deliver miracles, there are bad angels. They disobeyed and they're rebellious, and they are happy to help Satan mess up your mind if possible. They want you to have a pity party every day. They're trying to destroy you and kill you and have you of no account. So we have to talk about righteousness as the important part it plays in the confidence to command those angels. I have had some experience with this, with myself and others, as I've done spiritual warfare, and as my mother did, and her mother, is that to be able to win in spiritual warfare, you have to be able to stand up to that demon. And at first, maybe you've never seen a demon and you've never heard one as far as you know. In fact, when you're encouraged to have a pity party, that is a demon. But you don't know that. You're just a regular Christian and we're just now ramping up to be ready for what's coming. But you have to be able to look at that demon right in the eye when he will say, "You loser, you fake. I don't have to do a thing you say." And you have to have the confidence to say, and this comes from righteousness, the confidence to say, "No, I am not a sinner. I am a child of the Most High God, and I command you to leave now in the name of Jesus, Yeshua, who has all the power of the universe." That happens with righteousness. You can back them right back down. The next thing, A, is attitude. Because to be able to have opportunities for anything, you have to have the right attitude. When a person, I know you know this, but when a person is negative, they see the worst. They are always afraid. Well, I don't know. They miss all the opportunities to be blessed and to bless others. So I'd like to talk to you over time more about attitude and how important it is. Also, the T is tools for truth. We have such a little amount of truth in the world today. Even, I was raised on Easter and Christmas. I was raised coloring Easter eggs, and I did it for my children. That is so wrong. That is so pagan. And the original Easter eggs were colored with children's blood. That's what the joy was for them to do that. And the reason because the real reason for Easter, which we call Resurrection Sunday, was about the Passover, was about Yeshua You know that originally Passover was used, Father Yahweh used it when Abraham's children, he told Abraham they're going to be in captivity for 400 years. And when it's time to come out, and so he made all those miracles, and he took them out of captivity, and they got to take all the wealth of Egypt with them. Every jewel, every diamond, every gold earring and bracelet, all the livestock, they took the finest everything with them. When they did that, and that's what's going to happen with us also, for what's coming. We can expect exploits, but you have to have truth. And truth is that the Old Testament has not been done away with. I do not believe that if you don't obey Torah, that you can't be a Christian. Certainly, absolutely, there are New Testament Christians who believe in grace as their way to heaven. And absolutely, Jesus, Yeshua, did die, and he does share his grace and his righteousness, and that's true. But that's just to be a Christian, a follower, someone who eventually ends up in what we showed you as new heaven, new earth, but not in New Zion. The New Zion is for his confidential partner, someone he loves living with, someone who adored him. So if you want to be that person who gets caught up soon and doesn't have to live through a lot of the rest of what I showed you, you will long to be the bride of Christ. That means you want to do everything that would please him. If you can remember back when you were in love, when you were first in love with someone, I can remember back when I was younger, if somebody loved blue, some man, I would wear blue. If they love football, I personally don't like football. I think it's violent and a waste of time. But if they love football, I would sit and watch football with them, because that's what you do when you love somebody. You want to spend time. You want to be close. You want to be pleasing. And you have to remember that's what Father is looking for his daughter-in-law, because his son Yeshua is looking for a bride. And it's anybody, male or female, old or young, who adores him and will do anything. And that means accepting the Old Testament also. We have been taught not to pay a lot of attention to the Old Testament, and that's where the meat is. In my Bible, I wrote down every time in the New Testament, they're quoting the Old Testament. And there's not one page and there's hardly one chapter that's not a quote from the Old Testament. And as you start getting into it, you'll see that. It's not fresh and new and different and scary. So, for instance, I don't think I have to obey Torah perfectly to go to heaven, or for him to know my heart, that I want to love him the way he deserves to be loved. But I do try to be more like him all the time. And for instance, several years ago, probably at least 5 years ago now, I became under conviction that I needed to be whatever Jesus was. And he did not eat anything unclean. He said, if it's in the sea and if it's something that eats dead blood, you can't eat it. And that's things like crab, which is delicious, and shrimp and lobster. You can't eat that, it's dirty. It's defiled because it ate dead blood. Then the same thing is in the sky. He talked about vultures, and they eat dead. And he said, don't eat those either, those kinds of things. And then the same thing with the land. He said, don't eat pig. Pig only eats things, not only, they eat whatever they have, but a pig feels very comfortable eating dead blood. And it's dirty, and we are not supposed to eat it. He told us exactly. Even rabbits. I thought, what's wrong with eating rabbit? We can raise rabbits, they grow quickly. But the rabbits are also not right to eat. And that's because they regurgitate their own feces and eat it again. So we're not supposed to eat those things. And I know that if we misunderstand the words of Paul, he said, hey, all this food here that's been lowered down in this sheet, that means I can eat anything without worrying about it. And if you study that deeply, that's not at all what it said or means. So I'm not trying to make you feel guilty or bad or less than, but I want to share with you that over time you'll want to start being anything your Savior was. And for me, that even includes eating the same way he did. Okay, so the next thing is steadfast. It's easy to be kind of a will-o'-the-wisp. Today I have lots of faith and I know what I'm doing and you can't talk me out of it and I'm great. And then maybe tomorrow you're going to feel defeated and go with that feeling instead of rebuke it. We have to learn that as soon as we start feeling that, we rebuke it in ourselves and we say, I reject self-pity and I reject this feeling and I say that it's not true and I don't have it. I reject it. And there are lots of ways to do that too. So as I start teaching Frats courses, which will be in the book that I call Blessings to the End, I'll show you how to be able to live those miraculous things that Father promised. He told me that I could expect exploits exactly like the people in the Exodus, the original Exodus, when they left Egypt. They did not worry about food because it came down from the sky every day. And maybe they got tired of it, but there was food. They weren't hungry. The same when they asked for meat. He had birds come, so they had chicken dinner. When they asked for it, they had enough water. All their needs were met. So that's what's going to happen to those people who adore him and who live in his presence, who ask him into their day every day, to ask advice and to thank him when it comes. Those people maybe won't have such a bad existence and they'll live with a lot of praise and worship. And the one last thing I want to share with you is I asked for years to be able to have a quiet life with Yeshua. I asked, and I even asked Father if he wanted me to be a nun or a monk or something, because I wanted to go away and just be alone with him. I didn't want any interruptions. And he worked it out for me many years ago that I could have a sweet little country home and chickens in the front yard. And when I lived there for almost 7 years, and during the time I lived there, it was just him and me. My daughter Teresa came and I watched my grandsons, but other than that, no one was invited in my house. And I was talking to him and he was talking to me, he was answering me as if someone was in your house talking to you, or as if I'm talking to you now. I paid attention to what he said and I made notes. And I now have over a dozen study tools. I have never thought of giving them or selling them, but I have written notes from things he told me, like how to get into his throne room, to be able to be really close to him. I have all that down in instructions. I have, for instance, the real name of Yahweh. I know I studied it for 3 years with his help. And I know what it means. I know why he answered 3 separate times. I know that Jehovah is not the right name. Jehovah said there is no J in Hebrew, and that V is very recent. There is no Jehovah. And if you look up, if you know what a concordance is, if you look up in the concordance, if you look up the word Jehovah, it says the God of evil, mischief, and ruin. So please don't say Jehovah. It's not the same name as Yahweh. It's not the same God. So I'll be teaching you things like this. And then the one last thing I want to share is I said, Father, just tell me how to wrap myself in your arms and to be so close that we share breath. I wanted to be so close. And he said, I need you to give me praise 24/7. I said, sir, I praise you. All I know to do now, I never just pray, never just for myself. I pray for others. I pray praise. I pray worship. I don't know what you mean. And he said, you need to give me music, praise music. I said, okay. And what do you mean? So he said, you get a CD player and you get some praise CDs and you leave it on 24/7. And I'm ashamed to tell you this, but I just tell you the actual truth. I said to him, since we were having a real conversation, I said, won't that really raise the electric bill? Oh, ye of little faith. So and he explained all about it and how the praise, this is what he told me, the praise going on in your home, even if you can't hear it, if it's so low, the angels still can, the good ones and the bad ones. And you're putting out that music that says you belong to me. And it works exactly like in the original Passover when there was blood over the doorpost, so that you live in protection when you have praise music going 24/7. So I do the best I can, and I always want to do better. So there are just a few things to start you thinking about ways to be able to live in blessings. There are books and another video coming to more details on how you can actually do it and what's reasonable to expect. And I thank you for your time, and I thank you if you have learned from this and if you can share with someone else, because it's our goal to be able to share what we've been given. Okay, so thanks for listening, and I'll probably see you again soon. Bye.